Yep. Communicate with other parts of the body to determine the decision. At some point, they're going to have to respond to the things we hear, see, touch, right? Potential danger. Absolutely. How would you know you were in danger, Lisa? Andy, the joint code is 0119. Somebody tell me, how would you know you were in danger? I want you to think like a kindergartner here. Don't think like a college student or an intellectual. Just think like a kindergartner. How would you know you're in danger? Well, that's how your body responds to danger, but how do you know? How do you know that something's dangerous? Is it a gut feeling? So if I show you a gun, it's a gut feeling? Or is there something you have to register first to have that gut feeling? Or what happens before your heart speeds up? What happens before you become anxious? How did you know? Still not simple enough. Still trying to be intellectuals. How do you know that there's a danger there? Yeah, looks and sounds. First, that's the first thing you do. Before you ever associate anything in the brain, that's all cortex stuff. That's all high level stuff. Before you ever make an association between one object and a concept, you had to see it or hear it or feel it first. All right. So that's always the first step to what we process in our world. Right. And so the neuron's job is to, number one, register that stimulus, right? Register that sensory input, and then make sense of it. So if you've never seen a gun before, never heard of a gun, you wouldn't know to be afraid of it, but you would see it, right? We see, we associate, we respond, all right? I want you to watch this short animation. It's about 5 minutes, but I love cartoons because they give us a really, really good idea going in of what we're looking at, right? And then we'll build some of the terminology around the cartoon. Check. I want you to let me know if you can or can't hear the video. Okay. And tell me yes or no for sound. No?
No.
Okay. All right. So that shows me my microphone is not registering. So let me do this. Let me fix this. Turn on mic and see if I can fix it on the spot. There we go. How about now? Yeah? Okay, we fixed it.
Yes.
All right, so that's just like a basic overview of how it happens. This is going to also be up on the same slide set for you to review, and it is it's going to be, we're going to use these concepts over and over again as we go through the semester. So this class doesn't work like a normal class that you're used to in psychology, because normally, like, you deal with one set of concepts, then you move on to another set of concepts. The set of concepts we use in this first unit, you're going to use actively throughout the rest of the semester. They're going to be the key to helping you understand everything else this semester. Information, right? To communicate with other neurons, though, they send chemicals, all right? So the electrical impulse is an internal signal to the neuron to do something. The absence of an electrical signal is an internal signal to the neuron to not do something. Then it communicates with other neurons and tells them to do or not to do stuff by way of chemicals. So I see 2 hands raised. What are your questions?
So for this class, are the notes on Blackboard, or do we like take notes as you go through the slides each day?
You can take notes as I go through the slides, or what I'd rather you do is actually just really focus on understanding and participation during class and take notes when you review. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I don't like students taking notes in class, because you're hurrying to write down everything I say. You're not absorbing anything. All you're doing is writing down facts, and they're not going to make sense to you later. But if you focus on understanding and asking me questions about what you don't understand and answering the questions during class, then when you write the stuff down later, you'll have context for it and understanding that you're reinforcing and repeating. That makes sense?
Yeah, but like after this is over, like I can still like go back on Blackboard, find this and review like that way?
It'll be on Top Hat, not Blackboard.
Top Hat, okay.
All right. And once we're finished all the slides, we may not finish all of them today. So that may be Wednesday. All right. There's also that open source textbook where you can do a little reading, pick out stuff there. But here, I want you to focus on really concentrating. All right. There was another hand up besides Madison's. Okay. So the question I have for you, you saw a little bit of that cartoon about how the electrical impulse moves through the neuron and how it signals it to communicate with other neurons. What part up here do you think the chemicals are released from? Put it in the chat.
Can you repeat what you said?
So what part of that neuron in the picture do you think the chemical messages are released from? Yep. Yeah, if you said axon terminal, you're correct, right? So already, now the synapse, we'll talk about what that is a little bit later. The synapse is really a connection between 2 neurons, all right? All right. Um, hold on, it's not moving on. The other thing to think about is what is the purpose of each of these things. So look, I had that red box around the dendrite, right? The blue box around the axon terminal. And you notice, remember I said things are color coded here. So the red is about dendrites, the blue is about axons, right? So dendrites have these specially built little protein objects that are embedded in the membrane. So you need to know that the cell has a membrane, right? The dendrites and axons are places where that membrane has been stretched out. So throughout the cell, that's actually the same membrane all throughout the cell, okay? So these are specialized projections of that membrane. So this specialized projection has little tiny proteins that you can't see here. They're microscopic in this view, but they're built to receive chemical messages, right? Axons contain structures that release messages, so they're specialized. Each thing is built for what it does, all right? Dendrites are built to receive, axons are built to send, all right? So this is part of the process. This is an overview of the process they use to communicate with the rest of your body, the outside world, and other neurons, all right? All right, you'll let me know. So tell me something. The way these neurons are built, we know that dendrites receive and axons send, right? Can you think? Look at this multipolar neuron. What do you think it's equipped to do? Why is it multipolar? Why does it have? It seems like it has a lot of branches, a lot of dendrite branches. What does it look like it's equipped to do? Think about dendrites receiving. Why does it have a lot of them?
To do a lot of things at once, maybe.
Okay, so if it's
send a lot of stuff.
You say do a lot of things. Okay,
but like send a lot of different messages at one time, maybe.
Perfect, y'all. Good. I'm seeing multiple people say that. Receive more messages, receive multiple messages. Excellent. So part of what your neurons do is integrate from different sources. They integrate information from different sources. All right. So I'm going to need a lot of dendrites to do that. I'm going to need to make connections with a lot of different neurons, right? So that's its purpose. That's why it's built like that. All right. Look at the bipolar neuron. I want you to look at where it says sensory receptor. Does that look different from the endings of the other neurons? Yeah, it looks kind of different, right? So why is it different? It's built to do what it does. It's built to detect something specific, right? So in this case, it looks to me like that thing is built to squish down and detect pressure. Isn't that how you would build something that detected pressure? Something that squishes down? Your scale that you measure your weight on has springs, right? When it squishes down, that's a signal to how much weight is on it, right? Right. So if I step on a scale, it's going to squish down a lot more than if Sydney steps on the scale, right? All right. So this neuron is going to give you a different signal if you have a hard pressure than if you have a light touch. All right. So it's set up to do that. It's set up to read how much this thing gets squished. All right.
I have a question.
Yes. How's it?
So what do you mean by like it's built to like receive pressure or what, like what do you mean by that?
So that ending, it's actually built like a little spring if you look inside. And so as it gets, like literally if someone pushes on your skin, it's gonna actually read that. It's gonna, when somebody pushes you hard or touches you soft, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's how you know. It's because of how much that thing gets pushed.
Okay.
So like if you squish it down a little bit, that's going to be a light touch. If you squish down a lot, that's going to be a rougher touch. All right. So,
Dr. Brown, I have a
go
question.
back one slide, 1 second. Jordan, you had a question?
Yeah. What if there's like an incongruence between your sensory perception of like the weight being put on the sensory receptor? What would happen? Just a random question.
Excellent question. You'd have a different pain threshold, or maybe you'd have a range of amount of touch that you wouldn't feel.
Okay.
Right? So this is part of why everybody has different pain thresholds, right? People feel different pain at a different point because their bodies are set up differently. Either, so you can have a couple of things happen. Maybe your sensory receptors are different, or maybe your brain processes it, the signal it gets differently. So that's another topic. So Aria, the way that open source textbook is set up, you can actually just search for stuff like this. So when you look at the units on Top Hat, you'll see like cells of the nervous system, neurons, glia. You can just search for those things and read about them. Okay, that's the advantage of having an electronic document to work with versus like a print document. So I want you to look at this pseudo-unipolar neuron, right? I want you to look at how it's set up, okay? Look at what it's labeled here. You see the sensory receptor label, and you see a cell body, right? What do you really see? Do you see anything different about the way that neuron is built versus the other ones? All right. So I want to ask you this question on the next slide. Don't worry about being right. I just want you to worry about thinking. Okay. So this is not, you're not getting points for whether this is correct. And I have a lot of discussion questions like that, where your answers will show on the screen, but your name won't show. Okay. It'll be anonymous. And what file on Blackboard for you to review. What I'm going to be doing is chopping the answers out. Okay. So you'll have this as well on Top Hat. You'll be able to go back and watch the video. All right. So I'll upload it to my YouTube channel. I'll load that video on Top Hat. It'll just usually take me about a day to do that. All right.